The basement air was thick with decades of dust and disappointment. I sat on the ancient pull-out couch, listening to the laughter and clinking glasses echoing from the floors above. The annual Wilson family reunion was in full swing, and as usual I had been relegated to the basement, the designated space for family disappointments. "The basement is good enough for you," Aunt Patricia had smirked earlier, her diamond rings catching the light as she waved dismissively toward the stairs. "We need the guest rooms for people who actually contribute to the family's reputation." "I'm Catherine Wilson, though my family has called me the other one for so long, I sometimes forget I have a name. My crime? Being the only Wilson in 3 generations to turn down a position at Wilson Financial Group, our family's prestigious investment firm. Such a waste," my Uncle Thomas had said when I declined their job offer 5 years ago. 4 generations of Wilson success and you want to start some little tech company? They never bothered to ask what kind of tech company. Never showed interest in what I was building. They were too busy celebrating my cousin Elizabeth's promotion to junior partner, or my cousin Michael's new corner office. Now at 32 I was the family cautionary tale. Want to end up in the basement? Just follow Catherine's path. I checked my phone, 3 missed calls from my assistant Jessica. I'd told her not to contact me during the reunion unless it was about the acquisition, but knowing my family, they'd probably blame me if the basement's poor reception made me miss an important call. A text from Jessica popped up. "Urgent, Quantum Tech's board approved the terms. Documents ready for final review." I smiled, thinking of the papers in my briefcase. The same briefcase my Aunt Patricia had sneered at earlier. "Really, Catherine? Still carrying around that cheap leather? The cleaning lady has a nicer bag." If only she knew the briefcase contained documents worth more than her entire net worth. The basement door creaked open and my cousin Elizabeth's perfectly highlighted head appeared. "Dinner's ready," she announced, not bothering to fully descend the stairs. "Though you might want to wait until everyone's served. We're short on chairs at the main table." Of course they were. They were always short on chairs when it came to me. "I'll wait," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. My phone buzzed again, another text from Jessica. Elizabeth lingered, curiosity getting the better of her manufactured indifference. "Still doing that little startup thing?" I thought about the headlines that would hit tomorrow morning. About the acquisition that would shock the financial world. About how Wilson Financial Group had been desperately trying to land Quantum Tech as a client for years, not knowing that their basement-dwelling relative was about to own it. "Something like that," I said mildly. She shrugged, already losing interest. "Well, don't take too long coming up. Aunt Patricia hates having to send leftovers to the basement. Says it ruins her serving dishes." The door closed behind her and I finally returned Jessica's calls. "Everything's ready," she said without preamble. "The board unanimously approved. We just need your signature to close the deal." I glanced at my watch. Perfect timing. "Send the final documents to my email," I instructed. "And Jessica? Remember what we discussed about the timing of the press release?" "Yes, Ms. Wilson. Set to go live at exactly 7 p.m. Eastern. Right in the middle of your family's dinner." I could hear the smile in her voice. She'd been with me since the beginning, watching as I built Nova Technologies from nothing into a tech empire. She'd seen every dismissive family gathering, every condescending comment, every basement banishment. "How's the reunion going?" she asked, knowing full well what the answer would be. "Oh, the usual. Aunt Patricia's wearing enough diamonds to blind someone. Uncle Thomas is bragging about Wilson Financial's latest acquisition, a modest $50 million deal he seems to think is impressive. Elizabeth has a new corner office. And you have the basement." "And I have the basement," I confirmed. "At least for the next hour." My phone pinged with the incoming documents, the final paperwork for Nova Technologies' acquisition of Quantum Tech. A $500 million deal that would transform the tech industry and make Wilson Financial's achievements look like pocket change. More footsteps above, the sound of the family settling in for dinner. I could picture them now, gathered around Aunt Patricia's prized mahogany table, congratulating each other on their modest successes, probably already forgetting I was down here. I opened my briefcase, pulling out my laptop, the same one Uncle Thomas had called cute last year, asking if I used it for playing around with computer games. This cute laptop had just orchestrated one of the biggest tech acquisitions of the year. Another text from Jessica. "Board members are standing by for final signatures." Should I tell them you're delayed by your family's hospitality? I laughed softly, thinking of Aunt Patricia's face when she realized her basement-dwelling niece was about to be announced as the CEO who'd closed a deal her precious Wilson Financial couldn't even dream of. No need for delays, I replied. Everything's right on schedule. I could hear my Uncle Thomas's booming voice from above, probably launching into his favorite story about Wilson Financial's humble beginnings. About how the family had built something from nothing. About legacy and tradition and staying true to the Wilson name. My phone buzzed one more time, a final message from Jessica. By the way, I took the liberty of ordering a new briefcase for you. Hermes arriving tomorrow. Thought you might want something nice to carry your billions in. I looked around the basement at the forgotten furniture and dusty memorabilia of a family too proud to see the future happening right under their feet. In exactly 1 hour, their perfectly orchestrated dinner would be interrupted by news that would shake their small, prestigious world. And I would be right here in their precious basement watching it all unfold. At exactly 6:55 p.m. I climbed the basement stairs, my laptop tucked under my arm. The dining room was exactly as I'd imagined, the entire family seated around Aunt Patricia's prize table, crystal glasses gleaming, silver polished to perfection. My entrance went unnoticed. I quietly took my place at the small card table they'd set up in the corner, the designated space for those not worthy of the main table. Uncle Thomas was in full performance mode, standing at the head of the table with his wine glass raised. To another remarkable year for Wilson Financial. Our latest acquisition proves once again that the Wilson legacy of excellence continues. Here's to the Wilson way, my cousins chorused, raising their glasses. I opened my laptop, positioning it carefully so the screen faced the main table. 6:58 p.m. Catherine, Aunt Patricia called out, her voice dripping with false concern. Do close that laptop, dear. It's rude to work during family dinner. Though I suppose in your case it's hardly what one would call real work. A few snickers around the table. Elizabeth smirked into her wine glass. Of course, Aunt Patricia, I said smoothly. I just need to sign one small document. A business acquisition, actually. Uncle Thomas laughed heartily. An acquisition? Did your little startup finally buy a new coffee machine? 7 p.m. Right on schedule. My phone rang. I'm sorry, I have to take this, I said, putting it on speaker. Go ahead, Jessica. Ms. Wilson, my assistant's voice filled the room, clear and professional. The board is ready for your final signature on the quantum tech acquisition. $500 million has been transferred to their holding account. Shall I proceed with the public announcement? The clinking of cutlery stopped. Uncle Thomas's wine glass froze halfway to his mouth. Quantum tech, he whispered, his face draining of color. That's impossible. We've been courting them for years. Yes, Jessica, I said calmly. You may proceed with the announcement. And please make sure Wilson Financial Group receives our press release. I believe they've been quite interested in quantum tech. The silence in the room was deafening. Then, as if on cue, phones started buzzing around the table as the news hit the financial wires. Breaking. Nova Technologies acquires quantum tech in $500 million deal. Tech world shocked as Catherine Wilson's Nova Technologies makes power move. Wilson Financial Group loses bid for quantum tech to rival Sue, their own family member. That's your company? Elizabeth stammered, staring at her phone. You own Nova Technologies? I smiled, taking a sip of water from my less-than-crystal glass. The very same. We've been quite busy these past 5 years. Though I suppose you wouldn't know, being so occupied with your corner office and all. Aunt Patricia grabbed her own phone, her fingers trembling as she pulled up the news. This is a mistake, she declared, but her voice wavered. Catherine she can't. My phone buzzed again. Ms. Wilson, Jessica's voice returned. The CEO of Wilson Financial is on the line. He seems quite upset about losing quantum tech. Shall I tell him to discuss it with his brother at the family dinner? Uncle Thomas collapsed into his chair, his face ashen. 5 years of dismissing my success. And now his company's biggest missed opportunity was sitting at a card table in his sister's dining room. No need, Jessica, I replied. I'm sure Uncle Thomas and I can discuss it right now. After all, we're having a lovely family dinner. This isn't possible, Elizabeth burst out. You work out of a basement. No, cousin, I corrected her. I sleep in a basement, during family reunions. I work out of the top floor of the Nova Technologies tower. You know that new building downtown that Wilson Financial tried to lease? I own that too. More phones buzzed. The financial news was spreading fast. Nova Technologies CEO Catherine Wilson, the tech genius her family overlooked. Wilson Financial stocks drop as Nova Technologies emerges as major player. Catherine Wilson, from family outcast to tech industry pioneer. But we're family, Aunt Patricia sputtered. You should have told us. We would have invested. We would have. Would have what? I asked quietly. Given me a real seat at the table? Treated me like I was worth something? Not banished me to the basement. I stood up, closing my laptop. For 5 years, you've treated me like I was nothing. Called my company a little startup. Mocked my work. Well, my little startup just became one of the most valuable tech companies in the country. Catherine, please, Uncle Thomas started, but I cut him off. Please what? Please keep it quiet? Please give Wilson Financial a chance to save face? Please pretend I'm still your basement-dwelling disappointment. I walked to the main table, setting my water glass down on Aunt Patricia's precious tablecloth. The press release also mentions that Nova Technologies is launching a new investment fund. We're looking to acquire struggling financial firms. Firms that say just lost their chance at a major tech client. The color drained from Uncle Thomas's face as the implication hit him. His company's stock was already dropping. Without quantum tech, their tech sector presence was weakening. They would be vulnerable. You wouldn't, he whispered. Actually, Uncle Thomas, I would. And I will. Consider it a lesson in the dangers of underestimating family members. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Aunt Patricia? About the basement. No need to worry about accommodations for future reunions. I just bought the Four Seasons downtown. I'm sure I can find a room there. One with a view. The dining room erupted into chaos behind me as I walked out. Aunt Patricia was crying something about family loyalty. Uncle Thomas was frantically calling his board members. Elizabeth had dropped her phone in her wine glass. Outside, a sleek black car waited my car, not that they'd ever noticed it among their luxury vehicles. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Jessica. Your suite at the Four Seasons is ready, Ms. Wilson. Should I send some champagne to the basement for old time's sake? I looked back at the house, at the window where I could see my family in complete disarray. 5 years of condescension, ended by one phone call and a $500 million acquisition. No need for champagne, Jessica, I replied. I think the taste of success is sweet enough. As my car pulled away, I could see Uncle Thomas through the window, presumably watching his company's stock price fall in real time. Aunt Patricia was still at her ruined dinner table, probably wondering how her basement-dwelling niece had become her social superior in a single evening. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving people wrong. Sometimes it's letting them sit at their precious main table, watching as the person they banished to the basement signs the papers that change their world. And sometimes, success tastes sweetest when served with a side of family dinner drama.